Hey everyone, Keith Lee with AssociatesMind.com here. Maybe you remember a few months ago when large numbers of websites went dark in protest of a couple new laws that were being proposed by Congress. They were SOPA, the Stop Online Privacy Act, and PIPA, the Protect Intellectual Property Act. Due to an overwhelming negative public response, Congress shelved both the bills. All good, right? Privacy is safe. Now we've got CISPA, which is the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act. CISPA gives companies a free pass to monitor and collect communications from their users and share that data with the government or other companies, as long as they're doing so for cybersecurity purposes. People are already rallying to fight back against this bill as well, but the passion isn't quite there like it was against SOPA or PIPA. Now, maybe CISPA passes or maybe it doesn't. That doesn't really matter, because the government is going to continue to go back to the well again and again on this issue until they get something through. See, bills like SOPA and CISPA are merely tactics. The move the government is making in a much larger game. And the government plays a long game. So instead of looking at the bill of the week, you need to step back and look at the government's overall strategy, which is really not hard to find. There's an entire website devoted to it. We got another government acronym, NSTIC, the National Strategy for Trusted Identities in Cyberspace, with the colon subheading, Enhancing Online Choice, Efficiency, Security, and Privacy. This initiative lays out the government's strategy for your identity on the internet for the next 10 years. So, what are the government's plans? In an effort to develop trust and promote security, the U.S. government wants to help and foster develop what they call the identity ecosystem, which they refer to as an online environment where individuals and organizations will be able to trust each other because they follow agreed-upon standards to obtain and authenticate their digital identities and the digital identities of devices. The identity ecosystem has 4 principles. It will be privacy-enhancing and voluntary, secure and resilient, interoperable, and cost-effective and easy to use. Now, the U.S. government doesn't want to create this ecosystem, but rather guide and shape it through the development of standards, interoperability, and the like. Hence, the underlying organization behind NSTIC is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The government envisions the identity ecosystem as a solution to the perceived lack of security and risk of fraud in online transactions. But there are 2 other looming factors that are coming to online transactions in one way or the other: taxes and tracking. Governments want to do both. They want tax revenue, which electronic commerce often slips by, and they want to know what the bad guys are doing. Look no further than the other backers of NSTIC: the Department of Commerce and the Department of Homeland Security. Now, you might be saying, well, they say it's not mandatory and that it's an opt-in program. But if you dig deeper into NSTIC, its goals are clearly laid out. The public and private sector will use awareness and education programs to encourage demand for the identity ecosystem and to inform its use. Awareness efforts will help inform individuals and organizations about the security and privacy risks associated with existing weak authentication mechanisms. Integrate the identity ecosystem internationally. Given the global nature of online commerce, the identity ecosystem cannot be isolated from internationally available online services and their identity solutions. Even more telling are the benchmarks established to determine whether or not the system is a success. In the next 3 to 5 years, the number of enrolled identities in the identity ecosystem is growing at a significant rate, and the number of authentication transactions in the identity ecosystem is growing at least at the same rate. And in 10 years, a majority of relying parties are choosing to be a part of the identity ecosystem. A majority of U.S. Internet users regularly engage in transactions verified through the identity ecosystem, and a majority of online transactions are happening within the identity ecosystem. So the government's 10-year strategy envisions that the majority of Internet users will be using an online identity system whose underlying structure has been developed in conjunction with the Department of Commerce and the Department of Homeland Security. And while participation is voluntary at the moment, What about in 10 years when the majority of internet users are participants in the system, as the US government imagines? Will Amazon or your bank refuse to do business with you if you don't participate in these programs? Maybe. So SOPA, CISPA, whatever, it doesn't matter. The government's long-term strategy is to change the internet. The question is if people are ready or even aware of it. Visit associatesmind.com for show notes with the links to NSTIC and other details. This is Keith Lee. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.